So welcome to Scrapbook Live. I am Megan Jacks. Today is Wednesday, August 7th, and we have a layout from the Creative Memories blog that's from a few years ago. I mean, it's been working its way now to almost 4 years ago that this particular layout came out. It was highlighting a tool that was available at the time, the dotted leaf circle punch. We have had a new circle punch that came out within the past couple months called Sunshine Mandala. It was part of a promotion that was in, I believe it was in May. That was all May and June kind of blur together. That's when I was getting ready to move. And so I ordered things to be able to earn the punch, but I didn't really have a chance to play with it too much. So I thought it'd be a good chance to bring out, use this layout to really give that circle punch a lot of practice of using the circle punch. And so if you have the Sunshine Mandala, or maybe you have one of the other ones, I think we've had 4 or 5 total different circle punches. This is a great layout to make with. It's pretty simple, straightforward. But there are other ways you can make something similar. You can use a frame punch, you can use a custom cutting system. So I'm going to show you how to do it with the circle punch, but we'll also talk about using a frame punch and using the custom cutting system. So we might put together some quick layouts. I'm really going to focus on the background. I actually don't have photos to use, but you'll see the theme that I'm going with is going to be easy for me to get some photos because it's all about sunshine and there's plenty of it here in Arizona. All right, so I'm going to switch over to my overhead camera and we will get started. Okay, so for today's layout, like I said, I am using the Sunshine Mandala frame punch. This is a frame punch. If you have them, the biggest thing with them is they're set up a little bit different. They're the blue and white punches, but they're set up, it has one kind of platform off to the side. And there are some instructions on here that kind of tell you how to use it. So you will punch 4 times in one direction, you'll flip your paper over and then punch 4 additional times. You always will start with a 6x6 photo or 6x6 piece of paper or cardstock. And you just kind of punch your way around and it makes a 6-inch circle, or well, what used to be, it's roughly a 6-inch circle edge to edge. Inside of it is going to be, of course, smaller depending on how deep our design cuts. Sunshine Mandala doesn't cut super deep, so it does give you a really pretty, you can use, to frame out a photo, or you could just use it as a background design the way that we're going to do it on the page today. So this blog layout is from December of 2020, and they use the Natural Disposition collection with the dotted leaf circle punch, which was I believe the dotted leaf was the last one that we had before we had Sunshine Mandala. I feel like I could be wrong on that. Trying to remember, going through my memory of all of the different punches we've had. But I wanted to really play up the sunshine theme. And I wanted to, one of the big things of here in Arizona with the sunshine is it's hot, right? So the sunshine here is glorious in January. It can be a little overbearing in June and July, even into August and September. So I'm going to be really playing on the warm tones of the yellows. And I've got some orange tonal paper out of that crafted rainbow paper, the rainbow pack. It's craft on one side and it has one of a kind of a tonal solid on the other side. And so I'm going to use this orange as my background, and then we're going to punch a bunch of the Sunshine Mandala. Actually, we'll just punch 3. You only need 3. And work those in around here to create just kind of a really sunshine. I'm even thinking it's going to be something about like beat the heat, and just have maybe some pictures on here of how we stay cool in the middle of the summer here in Arizona. We have all sorts of cool treats. We have swimming. We just stay inside and relax, that kind of fun stuff. So to get started, I will show you, I've got my background page. I am going to be using one of the designer papers out of the summer break paper pack. It actually has suns on one side, but I'm really going to be using it for this light yellow on the other side. And then I'm going to be using cardstock for my other ones. And I have 3 different pieces of cardstock here. I have Buttercup, which was a cardstock buffet paper from several years ago, but it's probably one of my favorite mid-tone yellows. It's just a very basic primary sunny yellow. Then we have Canary, out just out of the core line. And then I decided I really do kind of need an additional color in here, because you can see they chose 3 different colors for their design, the background, but then they go ahead and they use a third color. They use some bronze shimmer for the matting. So I brought out the gold shimmer paper because I do think it works well in here. I've got 3 different tones of, or 3 different no, they're tones more, of the golden yellows, and then I have a designer paper. The one thing when you're using something like the Sunshine Mandala or any of the other circle punches, and really any of the other punches, you really have to really pay attention to how your design is going to punch in the paper that you've chosen. For example, working with this tonal piece is going to be just fine. My design should show out okay once I punch it. But if I were to punch and use the opposite side, it wouldn't really work super well, because there's just a little too much going on in the design of the paper itself that you would start to lose the detail of the mandala in the circle. So that's why we're going to go ahead, and I'm sticking mostly with tonal papers. You want to have very little contrast to your papers that you're punching so that the design of the punch stands out. You also will want to have some nice contrast between your background and your other pieces, so that, again, that design can stand out. If you look at the original sample off of the blog, you can see on the greenish and the brown ones, we can see that design of the dotted leaf circle punch. But if you go to those creamier tonal punched pieces, we don't see it as easily, at least in the photo, just because it's, more, they use a creamy background with a creamy khaki colored page that they punch. So it's just a little less contrast. You don't see as much of it. But enough about that. Let's go ahead and get cutting. We need 6 by 6 inch squares. That's always what you're going to start with when you're using the circle punch to in its normal fashion. So I'm going to go ahead. I think I'm going to cut 6 by 6 squares of my designer paper, my canary cardstock, and my buttercup. If you are using cardstock, you will want to make sure, check your scraps, make sure you don't have scraps of cardstock that you can use before you start cutting a new sheet. I looked, I do not have any scraps of buttercup or canary that are large enough. Vellum will also work. I see Judy's going to try vellum. Vellum will work really, really well with this. I haven't used vellum a ton, but when I have used it, I have been very pleased with how it works. You just have to, you're going to want to have the vellum tape runner, or you're going to want to have the vellum be able to kind of hide your adhesive behind some other design aspects when using the vellum. And some of that depends on how opaque or transparent your vellum is. So here we go. We have got 3 different 6 by 6 pieces here. The one thing you will find when you're doing this particular layout is you get lots of time to practice your using the frame punch, or excuse me, the circle punch. So the circle punch works, it's pretty straightforward. There, like I mentioned before, there's directions on the back side, the side of it. You will want to take your 6-inch piece of paper and you're going to align it. You're going to push it all the way up and over towards the right, and you're going to punch. Then you're going to rotate it 90 degrees and you're going to punch again. And you do that 4 times. So you've punched once on all the sides. Then what you're going to do is you're going to flip your paper over. So now you'll see you have the straight edge, and that corner piece is going to be back up here, and you'll slide this in and you'll punch. And there you can start to see that circle taking shape. Now, the one thing you will start to gather these little squares in the upper corner here. So you might need to go ahead and start cleaning things out after each one of these punches. You do not want to leave that little square in there, as it could start to mess up your alignment of your next punches. If you've never used your circle punch, if it's been sitting there since you got it, you might want to practice on a piece of spare cardstock or paper first, if it's the first time you've ever used it, just so you can get the hang of it. You don't want to mess up a piece of cardstock or your pretty paper. But there we go. So pretty and so easy. I really do like the circle punches. I would like to, I think it'd be fun to see some more of them come out. So maybe they'll give us another one here in the next year or so. And then we're just going to repeat the same thing with the other pieces of paper that we've cut, the other 6-inch squares. And you really only need 3. You can see they kind of, they end up essentially cutting the pieces in half. They're not in half, perfectly in half. They kind of offset them a little bit. We'll talk about that when we start putting the layout together. So here I've gone ahead and I've punched everything. I'm going to flip it over, get that square back, or that squared corner back up here, and put it in and keep working all the way around. Now, how many of you have circle punches, or are some of you waiting for me to get to the part where I show you how you can do similar with a frame punch or even the custom cutting system? Not sure how many of you took advantage of the Sunshine Mandala promotion. It was when they also had the Lighthouse bundle. Maybe you opted for the Lighthouse bundle instead of the Sunshine. So yeah, so see if you guys are saying you do have the circle punches. And Kelly's like, I need ideas for the frame punch. So I will definitely show you the frame punch, how you can do this layout using a frame punch or something similar. The frame punches are, a little more flexible in terms of their overall design because they can be regular border punches, they can be frame punches. Circle punches you can use there are ways to use it to create a straight border. It takes a lot more effort. So there are some ways you can do things beyond just making a circle. But here's where you can start to see that you see how that design, if I have some nice contrast here, you can actually see the design even with those sunshines in there. But if you start to get on some other paper, it just might be, I think, a little too distracting. I don't know, maybe when I start cutting these things, I will decide that I really do want to have that sunshine piece. I don't know. This is a layout that's all about the sun. But I'm gonna stick, I think, with the tonals, the yellow side. So really what you do here, after you've got those cut or punched, the next thing you're gonna wanna do is you're gonna go ahead and you just put them on here. You're gonna layer them on, like they put one kind of up here and another one would be maybe over here and so forth, right? Okay, you adhere them on and then you cut them off. And what's left over, you carry over to the other pieces. So when I trim this one here, and I can figure out, do I want to have it be, am I going with a straight, I don't think I'm going to do just fully halves on it. I will come in and cut it a little narrower than half. And then you just take those leftover pieces and work them around into the other places. So with that in mind, I think what I'm going to go ahead and do is there's a couple ways you could do this. You could truly just adhere them on and then use your trimmer and cut off the excess, or use a pair of scissors on the back side and cut off the excess. The other thing you can do, especially on these areas where I know I'm going to cut on this straight edge, I can go ahead and just mark where I'm going to cut with a pencil. Lightly mark where I want that to be. So you can see I put a pencil line there and a pencil line right there. And then I can grab the trimmer. I can use my new photo trimmer even, because remember, the photo trimmer will cut paper. Bring this in here, and I got to find my pencil marks. I don't know if I may have accidentally flipped it over. Where are my pencil marks? Dear goodness, there it is. I can line my pencil mark up here, and there it is. Pencil mark and pencil mark hold it down, and cut. Okay, so that piece is gonna go right here, and that piece is gonna come down over here. Next up, let's go ahead and take care of this one here. And I'm gonna bring it down a little bit more. This one I might go ahead and just do in half. So just use my pencil. If you guys have not heard, if you are wanting this new photo trimmer that also cuts paper, if you want the new photo trimmer and you want the bag that goes with it, you are going to want to order sooner than later. The bag is limited edition, and when it sells out, it sells out. It is possible the Creative Memories could bring back another variation of it. They said probably not the exact same thing. So if you like it exactly as it is, you want to order now. But if you otherwise, you can wait and see what comes out in 2025, but definitely there's plenty of trimmers. If you're happy with just getting trimmer only, you can order that when the trimmer only becomes available in the end of the month. However, if you want the bag, you're going to want to order sooner than later. So what I'm doing here is I'm just figuring out where I want this to sit, and then I'm going to go ahead and mark it. I have been trying to mark um, so that I would be more like in the valley between the sunshine pieces here, but it's not really going to work so well here since I'm doing on a corner. So I'm just going to go ahead and mark. Let's see here. I think I want my lines to be, no. This one's a little bit harder because I am crossing not just one, but I'm actually in the corner. And so it just makes it a little bit more difficult. So if I mark this here, I think this one here, I am just going to go ahead and stick on my page, and I'll use scissors to cut it off. It's just going to be easier rather than, since I don't have just one straight cut to cut it in half. Just putting that on. Use my eraser. I didn't line it up the same. I'm going to go ahead and use my adhesive to place these other pieces on so that when I flip it over, I will still be able to, my paper will stay attached. And you can just see, you can put them wherever you want, lay them on there. However, if you feel like you need to cut a fourth one because you just can't make this work with the three pieces, cut a fourth one. Now what I'll do here is I'm going to come in with my scissors. That off, and then I'll cut this piece off, just that overhang. And this is what I really wanted over here. I have a feeling I either didn't do this completely right or they ended up using another piece, because I think we have the darker browns in the example, I think are from two separate ones. Either that or they Yeah, I think they did. I think down here in the corner, they ended up coming in with another piece. I think if you're really to get into the nitty gritty, that this one and this other corner are from two different, um, like if I were to come in with the other sunshine, and that's probably what I'm going to do is I'll just go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and punch another one out of this tonal piece, just because I have a feeling that's what they did. The directions may not explicitly say that, and maybe they did do a better job of placement, and I just didn't get the placement right on the first one to give myself a big enough chunk on the bottom. But now I can come in and really get into that and not feel like I'm compromising to keep it a little bit more balanced. Um, so we'll do that, and then I'll cut off the extra bits. You could use your trimmer. The scissors works well too. So there we go. There is the basic background. Now they do just use some 4x6 mats. So you could just use some 4x6 mats. You could come in here and kind of just arrange it however you want. I'm going to cut some 4x6 mats out of this. This is the gold shimmer paper. I'm just going to cut 2 mats, just kind of how they have it in this example. But of course, we've got a basic background here, so you can start to put your photos on here however you want. But I've definitely got a lot of really warm, wonderful golden tones in here. I could come in if I wanted to with the yellow journaling pens or the dot pens that we had, if I wanted to add a little bit of detail into some of these cardstock areas, if I wanted to maybe do some dashed stitched lines or some dots or whatever I want, if I just want additional texture emphasis on here. But I've also then got a really just fun, this is from the summer break collection, the big embellishment there that says fun in the sun, but there's also, some other details, some other stickers that I can go into. Summertime, here comes the sun, sunshine, if I really want to play up the sun theme. Of course, the nice thing too is kind of when you have a background that has the oranges and the yellows in it, if I were to come in with photos from the pool that have the blue and the green of the grass, blue of the sky, or whatever else, there's going to be a really nice contrast. Those photos are just going to pop off the page. Blue and orange and green are really nice high energy colors. You have the blue and the green, which are right next to each other, so they're complementary. And then, I don't know, you get into the whole like color theory and stuff, but blue, orange, and green are going to go pretty fantastic in with this layout. Any photo that has blue and green in it is going to just pop off this page because you've got those other tones here in the layout itself. Okay, so that is using a circle punch on how to put this general concept together. Now, want to talk about doing something with something like a frame punch. So the frame punch that I happen to see that I haven't actually used much of because I just don't have a lot of it's the damask floral damask frame punch or whatever it is. It's the frilly damask one. It's this one. It's super pretty. I just don't have a lot of things in my life that really work its way for using this one a lot, right? I have all the punches. I mean, I need them all. I never know when I might need this, but here it is. So I was then thinking about what is going to work well for this, like what theme. And I happened to I have a project folder full of Devotion, which was our previous wedding collection. So I am going to show you the damask with we're going to use oh goodness gracious, we're going to use the Devotion collection. So I have already done some pre-punching because first of all, I wanted to see how this was even going to work, because damask has a lot of detail into it. You see all those details in there. And so when I got into looking into the tonal papers that are part of the Devotion collection, I was a little nervous because there's a lot of the tonal ones. They have some subtle lines to them, and I wasn't sure how everything was going to pull together. So I went ahead and punched. You start with the 6-inch squares, just like before. And when you use a frame punch, you've got to remember to start over here on that silver line. If you do not, you will totally have messed up 2 of your squares, like I did. All right. Remember, you're punching a frame. You've got to start over here on the silver line, not there. So I'm going to show you how to use the frame punch in case you're not overly familiar with frame punches. We do have a few of them available on the website. A frame punch looks like a normal border punch. It has the markings of a border punch. However, it is designed to be able to turn a corner. So it's a little bit different in terms of its additional functionality compared to some of our other border punches. But when you use a frame punch, you've got to take your paper. It has to be even numbered sides. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. You can do a 6 by 8. You just have to make sure that your side lengths are even numbers. They can be any combination of those even numbers, but it has to be an even number. So working with a 6 by 6 works great. So when I put this in here, I need to bring the edge of my paper over to the silver line that's on the wing. That's how you know it's a frame punch. There's a silver line on the wing. That tells you where to line your paper up. And I'm going to punch again. Since I am using a 6 by 6 piece, I will punch twice. How you will know is you want to still be able to see some of the paper sticking out over here on the other side. Then you rotate. Line up this edge with that silver line on. I default to my left side when I start. You can do it from the right side if that's easier for you. But you'll punch with a 6-inch piece or 6-inch length, you will punch twice on each side. And then you just rotate and just keep working your way all the way around. I'm using brown shimmer paper here. Who would ever thought that we need a brown shimmer paper? But truthfully, guys, it's one of my favorite things. Even if you're doing a farm layout, a gardening layout, your dirt can have a little sparkle to it. So there we go. Now we have the frame punch done. All right. Frame punches, honestly, when they're kind of small like this, it looks a little, weird's not the right color. I don't know that it necessarily highlights the design perfectly here because I feel like it needs more oomph all the way around. You really don't get to see a full length of the damask print. You know, if I was going for 8 or 10 inches where I had 3 or 4 of these lined up, you would really start to see more of that design. Here, we're just constantly turning the corner. So that's just something for this particular design, but it actually does work really well when you come in for this, like this particular one on this layout. I wasn't sure how I was going to feel about it just because when I started putting it together, I was like, oh, I'm not so sure. Maybe I picked the wrong punch for this demo. But once I got it on the paper, it did work. One of the things here that I did decide to do is I truly just cut the pieces in half. I didn't, where I was doing the circle one, the mandala, you have a little bit more flexibility in how you rotate things and you can get bigger pieces and smaller pieces. And really when I started doing that with this particular one, it just to me felt like I needed to just cut the pieces in half. And I really just went along the valley here and across. So let me go ahead. I'm going to cut this one in half as well. I did the other ones that way. And I am kind of just eyeballing it. And then you can just start playing with how you put them on your paper. So first, when I started this, I went with the bronze shimmer and this darker tonal piece within the collection. So then it kind of came into what was I going to do next here. And I'll be honest with you, I wasn't 100% sure because I wasn't, thinking like I need another color in here. I need something. So I went ahead and did the brown shimmer paper because I really think the extra color in here is lovely. Now I will admit I have no idea how this is going to work out in terms of putting these on here. I think it's going to look pretty much like this. So it maybe doesn't quite have as much of the randomness that is present in the other one where it feels like the other sample that we did, it felt a little more random, the placing of the sunshines, right? You just have a little bit more flexibility when you're working with the circle. And here, it did feel a little bit more like I had to strategically place them, and maybe I could have worked with it a little bit more. And maybe it would have been fine just to come in and have, the three or the two pieces like this. I don't know if I wanted to play with it a little bit more. One of the things that's nice about the frame punches is you can come in and cut them additionally. So I'm messing around at this point. Okay, I really have no idea what the goal is here. I'm just going to show you kind of how you can work through a little bit of a creative process there. I can come up here in the corner and I can put one in each corner if I really wanted to, if I wanted that brown. I don't know how I feel about that. So but you see how you can just start to work with it. You're using the same concept that was present with the other piece or the other design, but we are just kind of playing with it a little bit differently. And maybe what it would simply be is there would just be a piece in the middle. All right. So you play around with it a little bit to work a design. I mean, maybe it would be fine to have all those pieces in the middle or all the pieces worked around it. Let me cut this one down and just finish out that so you guys can see. Come in with the all in the corner. So yeah, you can start to see here, we've got a lot. We do have pretty high contrast between our lighter background and our pieces here, but we do have a pretty nice range of contrast or range of tones. We have the dark brown through our medium browns and then coming into the lighter of the white here. So, and yes, I did see somebody asking about the spider web. Spider web is a frame punch, so you can definitely do the same thing here. You've got spider web, there's the Baroque frame punch, there's the arches frame punch. There's, I'm looking to see, we had a snowflake was a frame punch. I really just need to have a master list of these things instead of staring at my stuff, trying to remember all of the frame punches that we have had. So there's lots of ways that you could utilize this. This would be a really nice, even just a cover page to start off an album, or to have like a couple larger photos here. You could, if you needed to, bring this out a little bit if you wanted to give yourself some more space in the middle, if you wanted things to truly frame in here. All right, petal is a good one, and geometric frame punch is the other one. So yeah, and then there's, somebody had the comment of using just two, which is also a really nice balance in there. It does give you that little bit of off center. Well, just because I had things off center. If I pull them back in, it's probably going to be centered. So lots of options there. The other one that I wanted to do, just because I want to show you guys, is using the, I wanted to highlight the two-toned, the dual tone cardstock that we just had available. And I want to do that using circles, the custom cutting system, because you could do this with using any of the custom cutting system. I would say like you could use really any size, maybe not the jumbo. This is the medium circle, the circle number 2. Here is circle number 3. If you use circle number 2, you can do that with 6-inch squares. You can make it work. If you do circle number 3, you can, the way I'm going to show you how I think it's maybe fun to do it using the two-tone cardstock, we would not necessarily be able to do it using a 6-inch square. So I would start with a fresh piece of cardstock to do this. What I want to highlight is what we're going to do is I've got 3 colors here. I've got the green duotone, I've got the blue, and I've got the yellow. Just as a note, if you are missing out, if you're missing goldenrod, if you ran out of goldenrod, maybe your kids' school colors or college colors are a thing and you are out of goldenrod, this yellow paper right here is like a perfect match to goldenrod. Here is the goldenrod swatch, and you can just see how perfect that is. So if you need that university gold and solar yellow is not quite doing it for you, right here, make sure you grab a pack of this. What I wanted us to do with this, and I think I'm going to go ahead, I am going to use circle number 3. I'm going to use my red blade, and I'm going to use my blue blade, assuming I can find it. There it is. We're going to use the blue blade and the red blade with circle number 3, and we're going to cut some circles. One circle out, we'll cut a circle plus a ring out of each of our 3 colors. I am going to be using the craft side of the craft paper as my background for this one. So let me make sure I have a cutting mat. And we're going to start off with the yellow. And I'm going to start off by cutting the blue circle first on the outside track. The blue on the outside track. I'm going to cut my largest circle. I'm going to cut a large circle or a large ring, and then we'll have a circle. So blue on the outside track. I'm going to make sure my circle stays in place. I do not want to move my template, my pattern. I can make sure my paper wiggles. That's great. It can move. Now I'm going to go ahead and grab my red blade, and I'm going to make that ring. I could do this with the green blade first and then the red blade. It really just depends on how wide you want that circle to be, or that ring. I want to go ahead and have, it's going to be a 1/4-inch ring. It's going to be a decent size. I'm going to make sure my ring lifts all the way around. And it does. So what you're going to see here, this is what I'm excited about, is we're going to play up the two-tone duality. It's got 2 personalities. So there's one. I'm going to do the same thing with the blue. Now these sides of the paper do have colors. I'm going to have to write these down because I am not sure. I can remember the orange one because it's papaya and the outside is sweet potato, which it truly does look like sweet potato, like before you peel it, the darker side of the orange. So I'm going to do the same thing, the blue blade outside track, cut that circle. You could do this with designer paper. If you want to cut, you just want to make sure that whatever you're using, you can have that ring. And this is really inspired by the, they came out when one of page designs that they came out with to market the crafted rainbow pack was that play on using the two sides of it. You have a ring maybe of the craft color with the inside circle that's the tonal side. So this really just kind of plays on the same thing. I forgot to check that my ring here. Grab my scissors. And give it a quick trim. And then we'll do the same thing for the green. I probably like the dark side of the green paper better than this particular outside green color. The back side, it makes me think more of that fresh green color that we had as a cardstock. It was from a few cardstock buffets ago. I think I have one pack of fresh green that I've just hoarded. If you are a person who does, Girl Scouts, or you do 4-H, the dark green to me is a little bit more in sync with some of those, the green color of those, especially, I'm more familiar with 4-H. I did that as a kid. Here we go. Okay, so now we have all of our pieces cut. So now it's time to just kind of have a little bit of fun placing them on here. To figure out, what do I want the So you can see on here as I put them on, I am going to put on the big circles first, and then I'll put the thin ring around it. I may need to cut a second blue just because it's kind of leaning itself. Well, let's see here. I could also, if I wanted to, reverse the sides of this. You see how I can come in here? Let's see. I probably should have thought about this a little bit more, just for my own spacing. But again, you're starting to see how this can be done. The same concept. And you can put those other dots in place. So I'm going to work on this probably off camera a little bit so I can kind of work through it. I just need to, I don't know that I got the placement of things really great the way I wanted to. So I'm trying to figure out how that's gonna stack up in there. But I will play around with it and get it figured out and share the samples or share everything with you then on the Facebook page and as part of the my blog post. So we'll get that all put on there. I'll get it figured out because it's going to take a little bit of effort there. And so Cindy's talking about the concept of twister. Yeah, this would work for a twister page if you worked in maybe some red as well. You'd have all those twister colors for kids that are playing a game of twister. It's not my favorite game in the world. I don't think that my experiences playing twister were not always the best. I have an older cousin, and she came and babysat my brother and I one year, and I'm pretty certain I ended up wrapped up in the twister board, the piece of plastic. I was the youngest, and so I ended up rolled up in it. It was maybe not the best moment of my life. I mean, it wasn't like terrifying. I'm like scarred for life for it, but it was kind of funny. So all right, that's what I have for you guys today. Some different ideas on how to use, a kind of a simple but effective idea for one tool. We can also then carry over into other tools that maybe have a way to do a similar function. So we think of a circle punching basically a circular mat type thing. Frame punches can do a very similar concept. It's a different shape, but it can do similar. And of course, our custom cutting system. I mean, I use circles. You could use ovals. You could use the squares or rectangles. You could go in and go to our older patterns. We have the hearts. Well, that's part of the gemstone. You could use hearts and diamonds. You could go grab the star. You could go grab whatever you have that you want to make some shapes with, especially with the custom cutting system, because you saw how we can have the rings that go around things is a really nice feature, because the custom cutting system by itself might be, I don't want to say boring, but putting that ring around it gives us some detail that when we punch something like the frame punch or the circle punches, of course we have the design. When we use the custom cutting system, we don't necessarily have a built-in design, but you can have a built-in border, even if it's just a thin strip of contrasting color. So that would be a great thing there. So what's going on this week? Like I mentioned already, Creative Memories has their new photo trimmer. They can trim paper too. And the bag bundle. The photo trimmer is going to be around for a while. It's going to be a core product. There's no problems getting a hold of that. So if you want that, you can wait till the 26th. It's going to be available to order. It's going to be great. However, if you want the trimmer bag, if you said, oh, I love that bag, I've got to have it. I initially thought that there was going to be plenty of supply, but apparently the way they did this is it's more definitely a limited time thing. So if you want it as it is with the rainbow dots on it, you're going to want to go ahead and order sooner than later. There is a possibility Creative Memories could bring it back in a different variation. I don't know all those details. We were just informed by the CEO that it probably will not come back in its rainbow dot format. It could come back in another variation. I don't know, but that would be like in 2025. So you have all the information that I have. This week here is the virtual crop. It's coming up on Friday. There'll be a new sizzling summer sketch released today. So it's a very exciting weekend. There is a product launch next week. Crossing my fingers, it is the secret box number 3. The worldwide virtual crop is coming up in September. So oftentimes they do have that secret box available for the worldwide virtual crop. So cross our fingers that that's going to come up. We'll know more details on Friday. And we will also have our full reveal of the Croptoberfest collection. Advisors get a sneak peek of it tomorrow night. So you will start to see that information being shared through advisors and so forth this upcoming in the next several days. And then Croptoberfest will be available to order starting at the end of August. All right, that's what I have for you guys right now. I hope you have a fantastic day. I am a little bit excited. I got a double header of Diamondback baseball to watch today. So I'll be working on my computer, getting some stuff done, icing down my jaw a little bit, get some Advil. It'll all be good. So Thanks for watching. I will have the video posted. I will have the samples put up there so you guys can see. It's going to take me a little bit maybe to get worked through all those, but I will get them posted for you so you can see how everything turned out. Be sure to share if you do put something together. You can share it into the Ideas and Inspiration group. You can share it into Scrapbooking with Megan. There's a hashtag on the handout to use so that everybody can find your version of it. Looking forward to seeing them all. Take care. I will see you guys all again next week.